Most people think that pleasure is happiness. That's why they try to achieve it. Because they don't know that happiness is created in your heart, which means created in your mind all the time. When the mind is created, happiness is also created. That means happiness is the natural state of mind. Pleasure is completely different than happiness. You can achieve pleasure, but you can't achieve happiness because you have already achieved it. That means already you have that. If you have something already, you can't achieve it anymore. You can't have something twice. You are happy, but you don't agree with this because you are not happy. You don't feel it. Actually, it's not you are not happy. You are happy, but you can't feel it. That's why you think that you are not happy. That's why you always want to achieve happiness. That's why you always chase behind it. I need to be happy. I need to be happy. That's what you always think. But when you try to achieve happiness, you will end up in vexation. Because if you try to achieve something, that means you have that thing in your mind as a wanting. I want to be happy. Before you achieve something, you should want it. If you want something, you are vexed. The mind is in vexation. And every time you want to achieve something, your mind is in vexation. It's a trap. You want to achieve something, then you are vexed, but you will try your level best to come out of that vexation. But people will think that you are achieving your dreams. But you are not achieving your dreams. Actually, you try to come out of vexation. That's why most people say that you should have a dream. When you have a dream, you will achieve that. Somehow you will achieve it. You will go the extra mile to achieve that because you have a dream. But the problem is, if it is only a dream, why should you achieve that? Actually, it's not only a dream, it's a desire. Some people think that you should have a desire. You should have a burning desire, not a normal desire. You should have a burning desire. Because when you have a burning desire, you can build the world. That's what other people want you to do. They want you to build the world, then they can live happily. They think that they can live happily, but we know that they can't live happily because happiness is within you. You can't build a happy world. But the thing is, everybody has their own wantings. Therefore, everybody is vexed. That's why they expect you to build the world. Then they think that they can be happy one day. It's a trap. You do what people ask you to do. You think that that's the truth. Therefore, you always try to achieve your dreams and goals. You will have your dreams and goals. If you don't have a dream and a goal, then you may think that you are already dead. That's how worldly people interpret this. If you are a human being, you should have a goal. If you are a human being, you should have a dream. This is how people interpret this. Therefore, everybody wants to have a dream. Everybody wants to have a desire. That's why people read books, especially positive thinking books, autobiographies. People force you to do that. People force you to read those books and choose your dream. Then one day you will have a dream because everybody forces you to do that. Therefore, one day you will have a dream. One day you will have a desire. Then when you have a desire is kind of attachment. If you get yourself attached to something, then you can't save yourself anymore. If you get your mind attached to something, then your mind can't release it because it is attached. When it's attached to something, then the mind can't help. Mind can't free itself. Then who's going to do that? You have only one mind at a time. One mind at a time means mind is a process. Mind is not an object. It's a process. Each time that process is processed. When it gets attached to something, then you need to find someone who can help. Actually, you can find someone who can help. He is called a Kalyana Mitra, a noble friend. If you can find a noble friend, you can free yourself from suffering. The mind itself can't protect it. Therefore, be careful when you listen to other people. But I know that when you listen to this sermon, you think that this is completely mad. Because if you don't have a dream or a goal, then you don't have a life. That's how people believe. But the thing is, actually you can have a goal if you don't have attachment. You can have a desire, but if you have attachment, then you will suffer. That's the problem. If you can have a desire without attachment, it will be okay. That's what we have. Actually, we also have a desire, but it doesn't mix with attachment. Therefore, we don't like to name it as a desire. We have an aim. We want to achieve our salvation. We want to be happy. We want to be happy means we want to feel happiness. Before, we wanted to be happy. That's why we wanted to do various type of things. We have done all these things. We have tried. But finally, we got the Dhamma. We got the Lord Buddha's Dhamma. With that, we have found that happiness is within us. That's why the Lord Buddha didn't talk about happiness. He talked about dukkha. Dukkha means not suffering. But unfortunately, that's the English translation. Suffering. The truth of suffering. The Lord Buddha didn't want to talk about suffering either. He didn't want to talk about happiness and suffering either. He didn't want to talk about these worldly things. All these things are worldly things which are made by people. Ignorant mind. People means ignorant mind. When the mind is ignorant, it feels its own existence. That's why the Lord Buddha said, dukkha is false sensation of existence. That's the problem. You sense that. You sense that means actually the mind senses it all the time. It happens because of vexation. When the mind is vexed, the mind tries to come out of that. There's a safety mechanism in the mind, as you all know. That's called abhisankara. When the abhisankara mode is activated, the mind starts to feel its existence. In that case, the mind thinks that it's a being, whoever it is. It can be an animal. All the animals also feel the same thing. Existence. But we should know that this is a process. And who can understand that without the Dhamma? We didn't know it before. When we have come across the Lord Buddha's Dhamma, we came to know about that. This is only a false sense of existence. But we thought that this is us. This is me. Everything happens to me. I do everything. I have to create the world. I have done so many things. I have committed sins. That's how you always regret. I have committed things. I have committed all these sins. That's why when you become a stream enterer, you won't feel that regret anymore. Otherwise, you will always think that I have committed many sins. How can I achieve my salvation? But just tell me, have you done any sin? Have you done any sin? Have you done anything? If you can understand the Dhamma, you will have the answer. If you don't have the Dhamma, then this will be still a problem. Why not? You have felt this. You have felt this. If you think about this entity, you think it has a body and it has a mind. Apart from that, it doesn't have any other thing. Body is also a process. The mind is also a process. It happened according to the theory of cause and effect. When the causes come together, an effect is created. If the causes come together and effect is created, how can you do a sin? How can you commit a sin? But you should understand this properly, otherwise you will be deceived. You will be deceived and think that, oh, I haven't done any, and I won't do any, but I will kill that person. And finally, you will say to the court that according to the theory of cause and effect, I haven't done anything. Lord Buddha's Dhamma is to be understood only for your salvation. You can't use the Lord Buddha's Dhamma in worldly sense, because world is completely opposite. Achieving salvation is completely opposite to the world. If you stay with the world, you never achieve your salvation. You have been there for over 1 million years, 1 million lives. You didn't achieve your salvation because you always wanted to be with the world. But when you listen to the Dhamma, now you should have another path. By listening to the Dhamma, you will get the path. You will get the vision. Otherwise, you don't have even a clue. Therefore, try to understand that if you can eradicate that false sense of existence, you will only feel happiness. But now you will feel vexation. You always feel vexation. That's why you want to do things. At the same time, you try to get attached yourself to things. That's why you always say that I want this and I want that. You still struggle. You still fight to achieve things. Finally, you came to the Sambuddha Shasana and you fight to achieve your salvation. Don't fight to achieve your salvation. You have to understand the Dhamma. You don't have to do any other thing. You need to understand the Dhamma gradually. That's why you should associate noble people and discuss the Dhamma with them and understand the Dhamma thoroughly. That's the only thing you should do. Don't try to have a dream. One day, my dream means one day I will become an Arahant. Don't try to have a dream. Of course, you have an aim. One day I want to become an Arahant. That's wrong. I should become an Arahant right now. That means I should become an Arahant. Means you need to understand the Dhamma right now. Right now you can do this. If you want to attain Nibbana, you can do it right now. You can't do it tomorrow. Because if you have understood the theory of cause and effect, when the causes are there, the effect is created. We can't say that effect will be created. We can't say that the effect has created. The effect is created in this moment. Right now also, the effect is being created. Therefore, if you want to achieve your salvation, you can do it now. Therefore, if you have a hope, if you have a dream, if you have a desire to attain Nibbana, you never achieve that. Because that's your dream. Your dream and your desire will destroy your happiness. Try to understand this. If you want something, you will get it in next minute, not now. Because you want something. You want something right now. You want something right now and you will achieve it in next minute, then you will have that in the other minute, after this moment. But in this moment, you will feel vexation. Therefore, if you have a hope, if you have a desire, that means that's the path to achieve your salvation in the future. It's completely wrong. This is not how you achieve your salvation. The only way to achieve your salvation is you should focus on this moment. You should focus on eradicating your defilements in this moment. But in this moment, if you want something and you think that I will achieve my salvation tomorrow or next hour, then you never achieve it. Again, achieving Nibbana is also a sense, finally. Then you will sense that. You will sense your happiness. That's called achieving your Nibbana. Try to understand this. If you want something, now you only feel vexation. That's not Nibbana. And you keep trying to achieve that, and next minute also you try to achieve what you want, or what you wanted, but still you are vexed. But the thing is, if I ask you to leave your desires this moment, can you do that? If I ask you to leave your hope, if I ask you to leave all of your desires right now, in this moment, right now, can you do that? That's what you need to do. But the problem is, if I ask you to leave all of your desires, then you may think that how can I live the next minute? How can I live tomorrow? Think about something you wanted before. If you want something, you work against your salvation. That means actually you postpone your salvation. You postpone your salvation. Each time if you want something, then what you say is, right now I don't want my salvation. Right now I want a cup of tea. But in next minute, I will have my salvation. Therefore, when you fight to achieve things, when you fight to achieve your happiness, this is what happened to you. Therefore, if you can leave everything behind and get ready to achieve your salvation, you will achieve it. But if you try to achieve things, first of all, if you try to have desires, if you try to have wantings and try to achieve them, destroys your salvation. Remember this, it's not the same path. You came to the monastery to practice the path, but there are two paths in the monastery also. If you want, you can have what you want, or if you want, you can have the Dhamma and leave everything what you wanted. But it's okay to have an aim. That's totally fine. An aim means actually you can determine. You can determine to achieve your Nibbana. You can determine to achieve your salvation. That's totally fine. That's only an aim. It doesn't mix with attachment. Attachment is the enemy. Attachment is created due to ignorance. That's why I told you, if you can understand the Dhamma thoroughly, then definitely you can eradicate attachment. But still you will have an aim. Aim is always mixed with determination. I have an aim. You can say that I have an aim. But if you say that I have a dream, it mixes with attachment. If you say that I have a burning desire, it's mixed with attachment. Attachment is the cause of suffering. If you are suffering right now, if you are vexed right now, the cause is attachment. But you can't control attachment. You can't control your desires. Desires will be there. Desires will be there if you are ignorant. Ignorant mind always creates attachment. That means the attachment is created in ignorant mind. Ignorant mind is the environment for attachment. Therefore, you can't control your desires, you can't control your attachments. What you can control is your knowledge, your wisdom. Therefore, you have to enlighten yourself by using the Dhamma. That's why you need to listen to the Lord Buddha's Dhamma and understand it. Day by day, you need to contemplate the Dhamma. You need to contemplate the Dhamma and try to understand the nature of nature, the nature of the universe, the nature of the world, nature of you, because nature is you. You are not a part of nature. Actually, you are nature. Then if you can understand yourself by using the Dhamma, you can achieve your salvation. Only problem is ignorance. If you are ignorant, that is the environment to the attachment. If the attachment is there, then vexation will be there. When the vexation is there, definitely that safety mechanism will be activated and you will start to feel the false sense of existence. When you feel that, when the mind feels that it's a human being, can you imagine what happened to the mind? The mind is a process, actually process of energy. But it's not like kinetic energy and light energy. The mind energy can think. That means the mind energy can process something. The mind energy can know something, recognize something, and perceive something. Kinetic energy can move something. But the mind energy can perceive something. Interpret energy. Actually, energy is work done. Work done is called energy. That means energy can do something. That's why this kinetic energy, the electric energy, converts to kinetic energy and it rotates the fan's blade. The mind energy can think. That's also a work. The mind energy can think. The mind energy can know if something changes. The mind energy can recognize. Finally, the mind energy can perceive. It's an energy. It's a process of energy. But unfortunately, it can think. Therefore, it can feel that it's a human being. If it feels like that, now it has to behave like a human being. Try to understand this. Human being is an entity. You know, if you are a human being, there are specific ways you need to continue. You need to maintain. If you are a human being. If you are a human being, can you use your 4 limbs to walk? If you are a human being. But we know that we can use if we want. In our childhood, we played like that. We use our hands also to walk. But we know that if we are human, that means if a human being means it's an entity. Therefore, we have to maintain that. If you think that you are a human being, you have to maintain. You have to follow the procedures. Now, the mind has to maintain that entity. Each mind which is created, it has to maintain that. That's what we do. This monastery is also an entity. Therefore, each of us try to maintain that entity. We all have a job. Our first job is we need to maintain that entity. We need to behave like Lord Buddha's people. That's the first thing. Likewise, the mind also has to maintain that entity. If the mind thinks that it's a human being, that's why when the mind is created, it always has an expectation. It always has a job to fulfill. Then how can you expect the mind to be happy? If the mind thinks that it's an entity, but it's not, who knows? The mind doesn't know about that because the mind is ignorant. If the mind is ignorant, mind thinks that it's an entity. That's how it feels. If the mind feels that it's an entity, it has to maintain. When it is created, that expectation also is created. That's why the mind is always vexed. When it is created, it is vexed. That's why everybody is suffering in this world. Everybody is suffering. Where's the process of the mind? There is the suffering. But we can come out of that. We can come out of that. Not all of them. We can come out of that because we have found the Dhamma. We have found the Lord Buddha's Dhamma. We are so fortunate. Therefore, your main aim should be enlightening yourself. That should be your main aim. Therefore, if you have any wantings, don't play with that. Try to leave them behind. I know it's hard because the mind still thinks that it's a human being. Therefore, it wants many things. Sometimes you can't be patient. You can't tolerate things. Therefore, you try to fight and try to achieve them. But when you do that, you will miss your salvation. That's why. Actually, if you can understand the Dhamma and if you practice the Dhamma exactly how we ask you to do, your life will be a paradise. I'm telling you. But the problem is, if you want that paradise, you have to leave the hell. Are you ready? But the thing is, this paradise is invisible, but the hell is visible. This is the only thing you have. Therefore, you try to grab it. You try to keep it with you. You don't want to leave it because you are not sure about the Lord Buddha's Dhamma. You are not ready to leave everything behind and move forward. You are too afraid to do that. You think that if I leave everything behind, I will lose everything, so on and so forth. If you want to achieve your salvation, if you want to be happy one day, this is the only path you have. That's why it's really difficult for you to leave everything unless if you have understood the Dhamma. Therefore, understand the Dhamma. When you understand the Dhamma, you will realize that this world is not pleasurable. You will realize that the world you have experienced was in your mind. It is created in your mind. You will realize that. Then, if you had an attachment to this world, it will disappear. Because if you attach yourself to something, if you get attached to something, then something should be there. Actually, you can see something. You can feel something. That's why you always think that I want this. I want this means you get attached yourself to that because you feel something. You feel the existence of something. But with the Dhamma, you will feel that. What you have experienced it, what you have seen is, what you have heard is. Your own world. That means you got attached to your own world, not to the outer world. This outer world can't be seen because it is made up of 4 basic elements. 4 basic elements can't be seen. It is created in your mind. When you see something, that's the only thing you see, and that's the only thing that exists. But that existence is also created in your mind. I know that this is very deep, but if you can understand this, how can you attach yourself to things? How can you get attached if you don't have anything to attach? You have many desires because you think that this world exists. I'm not saying there's nothing in this world. Something is in this world. That's 4 basic elements. There are some objects which is made up of 4 basic elements. I agree. I'm not saying that nothing in this world. But the problem is you can't see colors because the world is not colorful. You can't find sounds in the world. Colors are created in your mind. If the colors are created in your mind, what you can see is your mind, not the world. If you want to attach yourself, then you can attach yourself to the world that is created in your mind. That's what you need to understand. Otherwise, it will be really difficult for you to leave things because if you think that this fan exists and this red color and the black color, then this is so beautiful, then you already get attached to this. If you think that this exists in this world, then you will attach to this. You will get attached to this. But if you can understand that this is only an object which is made of 4 basic elements, which can't be seen, all the colors are created in our mind, and according to the data of our mind, the mind creates the shape also. And the mind names it. Otherwise, how do you know that this is a fan? Does it say? When it rotates, I'm a fan, I'm a fan, I'm a fan. It doesn't say that. Then how do you know that this is a fan? You can only see red color and black color. How can you see an object? Colors are not objects. Do you know that? Can you see an object here? If you look at the fan, can you see an object? In your mind, you can see an object. But the thing is, here you can see only colors. Colors are created in your mind. We can't say that you can see colors. Colors are created in your mind. When the colors are created in your mind, and many colors are created in your mind, finally, an object is manifested. That's how you get attached to yourself. But the problem is, if you don't understand about this, then you will ask for this fan. Sometimes you will fight for this because you think that this fan exists. Because whenever you see, the fan exists. But the problem is, where? Where? If you think that the fan exists here, then you will fight for it. But if you know that the fan exists in your mind, then why do you fight with others? You already have the fan. You already have the fan within you. Then you don't have to fight. Then each time when you fight for something, remember this, you don't understand the Dhamma, that's why you fight. Therefore, now you should know that if you want to achieve your salvation, this is the only way. You need to understand the Dhamma and contemplate it and try to understand the world, the reality of the world. You don't have to hate the world. You don't have to love the world. You don't have any connection with the world. Then why do you hate? Or why do you love? You have to disconnect your mind from the world. But if I say that, then you might think that then I shouldn't have friends. I'll go somewhere. I'll go to a jungle and stay there. But there you will have ants. You will find someone. You will find some creatures at least. Then how do you detach yourself from those things? No, this is not what I ask you to do. What I'm asking is, you need to understand the Dhamma and try to detach your mind from the outside world. Because in this outside world, you don't have anything what you want. The mind wants to see colors. Colors are not in this world. Colors are created in your mind. The mind wants to listen. Mind wants sounds. Sounds are not in this world. It is created in your mind. Various type of sound. It is created in your mind. Smell, taste, touch, everything is the same. But the problem is, when these things are created in your mind, your ignorant mind always thinks that everything is an entity. Therefore, it has to create an entity that belongs to that sound. When you hear a sound, you can't listen to a sound. You can hear a sound. You can hear a sound because, first of all, the sound should be created in your mind. After that, you can notify that. That's called Vedana. You can notify that the sound is created. That notification will be there as soon as the sound is created. That notification will be there. That's called Vedana. With that notification, recognition will occur. Therefore, you can't listen, actually, you can hear things. But the problem is, your mind always thinks that everything is an entity, therefore, it has to create an object It has to create an entity, then it can believe the sound came from that object. That's why when you hear something, you always open your eyes and try to recognize where it came from. That means you really believe that sound comes from objects. Sounds come from outside world. Otherwise, when you hear a sound, you should see your mind. Why do you open your eyes and it disturbs your serenity, tranquility? But to achieve that, to have a serene mind, you have to practice the path. I know that everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. That's the truth. That's why the heaven is empty. Ask everyone. Ask them to raise their hand. Whoever wants to go to heaven, everybody will raise their hand. Go to heaven and see. You won't see anyone there because nobody wants to die. In this case, I know all of you want to achieve your salvation. Then I have explained to you what is your salvation and how to achieve that. Are you ready to leave your hopes, desires, wantings here? Are you ready? Don't ever think that everything will happen naturally. You have to do something. Are you ready? I'll send you a box. Put all of your hopes, desires, wantings into that box, then we will keep it. We will keep it here. Can you go without your hopes? Then you will feel happiness. As soon as you leave all your hopes, then you will feel happiness. I'm 100% sure that you won't take them back. But before you drop them, you will cry. As soon as you drop them, you start to feel some relaxation, some relief, some. But still you are suffering, I know that, because still you have hopes, still you have hopes, still you have desires. Sometimes I want desire, sometimes you have a desire to see your child. When it comes to your mind, then again the mind is vexed. But if you can drop that, if you can leave that hope, or if you can leave that hope as well, then you will feel a relief. I'm telling you. But the thing is, you are not ready. Are you? That's the only thing you need to do. Leave everything what you have in your mind. I'll tell you a story. There was a turtle. It wanted to fly, but he couldn't. He had been trying, but he couldn't. Finally, it asked a sage to help him. Then the sage said that you need to give your shell. You need to remove your shell. Only then will you have feathers, wings. Can you do that? If you are the turtle, can you do that? Because that's the only protection it has. That's the only thing it has. That's why it didn't give it up. That's why it didn't remove it. That's the only thing. He had to feel that it's a turtle. But now it wants to be a bird. That's why it wants to fly, or it wants to have feathers. It wants to have wings. That means now it wants to become a bird. But it doesn't want to remove its shell. Why? It thinks that it's a turtle. The sage said that you need to leave this identity to have the other. Are you ready to leave this identity to have the other? That means you have to get rid of everything that you believe you are a human being. Then you will become an arhat. I'm not talking about walking and things like that. A human being, which means an entity. You maintain an entity because you think that. You think that you are an entity. But you want to achieve your salvation. That means you want to become an effect. But now you maintain an entity. Because you think that you are an entity, but you want to become an effect. You can't achieve both of them at once. You can't have the cake and eat it too. You have to choose. Either you can maintain your entity, or you can become an arahant. If that turtle wanted to become a bird, it had to remove its shell. Are you ready to remove your shell? Or are you too afraid of removing it? That turtle also was too afraid to remove. That's why he didn't remove it. But finally, that turtle listened to the sage and removed its shell unwillingly. Somehow it removed it. Then suddenly wings appeared and it flew away. Tell me, are you ready to remove your shell? If you want to maintain that shell, you can't become a bird. That means you have to remove your identity completely. Not the worldly identity I'm talking about. If you are Anusha, you don't have to leave that name. You can have that name, but you have to change your nature. Are you ready to do that? Then you will achieve your salvation. Otherwise, one day you will meet a sage. At that time, you will do that. One day. When? One day. If this is not the time, one day. Therefore, get ready to remove your identity. May the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you all. Thank you.